Hi Leo, welcome to your mid-September 2019 General Tarot Update. It's Raina here. So I actually recorded this earlier this morning and I cannot locate that memory card, so I have to do this all over again. Luckily I had the spread out so I can just do it from scratch. So there's going to be a full moon in a few days. I'm recording this on the 10th of September, and the full moon is on the 13th or 14th, depending on where you live, at 21 degrees of Pisces. And so for Leo, this is your 8th house. The 8th house is shared resources. It's also the house of death, which is, you know, it's not just the house of death, it's the house of transition. You know, when you think about the tarot and the death card, that is that idea, the deeper idea is of transition, transformation, I could also say. And it's also the house of the occult. We connect astrology and the tarot, and it's the house of metaphysics, the deeper meanings in life, the shadow, you know. So the time of the full moon brings things to the surface. You may, in particular, I mean, it's going to be like a Pisces full moon, so everybody may feel emotional, but you may especially, Leo, feel a sense of purging. Now, this can be on the psychological level. Pisces is the ruler of the 12th house, so it can be about addictions and whatever it is that keeps you stuck, and you know, or the way that you sabotage yourself, things like that. So there's a lot of transformational energy with this full moon. So based on that, let's look at some of these cards that are coming up at the time of this full moon. We have at the heart of the matter the Nine of Cups, which is a card of wish fulfillment. So I remember reading in one of my books that this can even be like on the financial level, you know, like abundance, but in general, just having something that you have wanted to come to fruition, do so. And so there's that feeling of pleasure associated with this card. Even self-indulgence, which is kind of like overdoing it with pleasure. And yet, you know, you may be really stoked about something. And I remember back, I can't think of what month it was. I think it was it had to be either August or September. I was noting how much good stuff you had astrologically. And as September kind of winds down, the planets that are in Virgo are going to go into your 3rd house, which is a communications house. This is going to be more of a mental kind of a thing. But until that time, and maybe, you know, when you're watching this, if you're watching this in the 2nd week of the month, you may notice that your money situation has gotten better because the 2nd house is activated with the Virgo placements. And there was a cluster as the month began, just like in, yeah, I must have been for the August forecast that I was really talking about how many planets were in Leo. And a lot of planets in Virgo as September began. And so now that we're getting to this midpoint, there's also, so that's the 2nd house of earned income, and then you have this full moon that's occurring in shared resources. So big emphasis on money, and this may play out with that 9 of Cups in some way. But cups are emotions, so it can be a relationship. As a matter of fact, when I did this reading the first time, I was noting that there were a couple of marriage cards here. The past position, we have the 10 of Cups. This is the pot at the end of the rainbow, and it is associated with family. I think the number 10 is associated with family. And you see the children dancing, and everybody's feeling a sense of unity. This may be something that you've wanted to join forces with somebody in a relationship, and perhaps they have kids and you have kids, and you're all getting along quite nicely. But this fulfills you emotionally, and it also feels, with the Ten of Cups, it feels like the culmination of something that you've been wanting on the emotional level. And with the higher message being the Star card, it's really talking about that faith in unseen forces. I always talk about that book by the late Dr. Wayne Dyer. I can't believe he passed away because he was so much a part. I'm trying to get rid of this. I've got like a hair on the table. My hair is always shedding. But he was such a part of the, the kind of the self-help community and the, what would you call it? Just positive thinking. And he had a book called I'll Believe It When I See It. Instead of saying I'll see it when I believe it. No, I'll see it when I believe it. Because everybody says I'll believe it when I see it. If I have that proof, then I'll believe it. And actually, it's the exact opposite, because in order to really have that sense of vision, you can't just wait for it to appear in 3D. I mean, of course you can. There's no law that you can't. But what happens is, then it's not really dreaming big. It's just like these things that are kind of almost a done deal. And this is one of the things I think that separates the really self-actualized people in life from the more kind of what I would call middling people. And by the way, I admire those people that are very self-actualized, because I realize that they're always kind of like being a visionary, where they see things way ahead of them actually appearing. And they have the faith to go for them in spite of, there not being any guarantees or any proof that it is going to materialize. And so it almost seems to me, because this is the spiritual position, that for some reason you are being shown how having this attitude has paid off big time. And if you can't think of anything that spectacular that seems to be in the works for you right now, maybe think of something that is not so like amazing, but still kind of comes into that category of being a sign of your faith paying off in the long run. And something that may have happened recently, because I think even like on a small scale, this happens all the time when we really think about it, when we step out in faith, The card that crosses you is the Eight of Pentacles. And when I did this reading the first time, this was when I first got this sense of like, wait a second, maybe this is like winning the lottery. And maybe the Star card sometimes can be someone who is a crossed over loved one who may be like guiding you in some way. Maybe they gave you the numbers. And so this win has made your whole family happy, and it's been your joy. But then you still have to go to work in the morning, and you're really tempted to just quit. But you know that you have to give at least 2 weeks notice, or maybe a month's notice if it's a certain type of, small business that can't find somebody right away. the Eight of Pentacles in the upright position is the sense of, you know, doing a good job, for instance. And right now you may be tempted to just kind of mail it in because you feel like, I have all this good stuff happening to me. Why do I have to even go through the motions like this? But if you're honoring your commitment, you can never go wrong. You don't have to take extra responsibility for something, but you can at least, you know, give them some kind of, you know, assistance so that they can find somebody in time. Now that could be one possible explanation. And if there's anything like that has happened, I used the lottery. That's a very dramatic example. But you know, as I said, the full moon in that 8th house could bring like an inheritance, and that inheritance can be something that makes you feel like, now I can breathe. Now I can pursue my own dreams. I don't have to be on that hamster wheel anymore. And your whole family could be celebrating because, you know, usually Leos are workaholics. And for some reason, you may be feeling the sense of like relief that you don't have to work. What's coming in, or the advice, is the Nine of Pentacles. This is a card of financial independence. I think as advice, it's reminding you that you have this. And so, you know, when you know that you have this financial autonomy, it gives you kind of like breathing room, and you can tolerate, even if you have to work, or you choose to work someplace for the time being for whatever reason, or maybe stay in one location for a particular reason, you can do so more easily knowing that you have this to fall back on. The Nine of Pentacles is just like, I think this card is considered a woman of means. So if anything, just kind of like, kind of accepting this, if this is hard for you to accept. Now, usually Leo people love to live large, love to show off what they have, and they're not like trying to be modest or anything like that. But if you have a lot of inner planets in Virgo, or if you have the moon in like, even like Scorpio, or, you know, can make you a little bit secretive about how much you've got. And you might even try to fake people out by, you know, driving a beater or something so that people don't know how much money you have. Or Cancer, you know, moon in Cancer, very, very, fiscally conservative. Moon in, and also, but with the moon also concerned about money, you know, emotionally connected to money, you know, depending, you know, financial security, I should say, is to like embrace it. Notice how we have two number 9s here. So the number 9, I think, in both cases is connected to Jupiter. Of course, Jupiter rules the 9th house in astrology. So there's probably like an ancient connection to, I mean, correspondence with Jupiter, which is interesting because this is the 9th month, but we're in Virgo. You know, I'm trying to think if any of you know. I mean, of course I can look this up, but I think that the 9 of Cups might be Jupiter in Pisces. I'm not sure, but Jupiter is the ancient ruler of Pisces, so I don't know exactly what's up with that, but I think that there's an abundance attached to the number 9, and this is why. But it's also, you know, you think about the Hermit as number 9, and that's the spiritual connection too. So Jupiter can roll both ways, that it can be a spiritual influence, but also the influence of abundance and luck and things like that. And the outcome is the Four of Wands. This is a card of, this is, you see those people and they look like they're in a celebratory position. This is a card of home, and there's the number 4, fourth house, home and family, but the, you know, the number of stability. And the wands, the fire element, okay, which you are, of course, but that enthusiasm for home. So we're not talking about the Four of Pentacles, which is, you know, sound money management or something where it's very practical. This is like, you know, making a life for yourself, but one that you feel joyful. If you are getting remarried and your first marriage was not a happy one and it was a marriage of convenience, this time you may feel like I'm doing it for the right reasons. The last time I did it because I got pregnant, or because I just thought that, you know, whatever reason, but now I'm doing this because I'm enthusiastic about it. Maybe you're buying a house. That could definitely be what's going on too. But in any case, these cards are like amazing, Leo. So I do hope that this is true for you. Obviously, this is a general reading. But hopefully the themes that are presented here resonate with you, at least on some level. If you'd like a private reading, you can if you'd like a private reading, please click on the link below, and have a great rest of September. I will be back at the end of September for the end of the month update. Take care. Bye.